Welcome back, my fellow Blues brothers and sisters, to the Chelsea Roar with me, your host, as always, Ian Kelly, Ian the Dynamo Kelly to some. This is our look back at the final day of the season, and I suppose we will look back in segments on the season as a whole. And as always, my friend and yours, friend of the show, Liverpool fan, host of the Shankly Sessions, that was a tongue twister for me there. The Shankly Sessions, and of course the Upper Tier podcast. Mr. Niall Hogan. This lad does not hide under rocks. He does not shy away from. I wouldn't use the word failures. I would use the word shortcomings.
Shortcomings.
That would be the best, exactly. Niall, commiserations, my brother. It went down to the wire with yourselves and City. I think a lot of people. I myself was still watching the Chelsea match, being the Chelsea fan that I am, but I did switch over for the final 10 minutes because it's very hard not to get engrossed in a title battle that goes down to the wire like this when you're talking about into the 90 points. It's crazy. Give us your thoughts. I know you've done a post-match reaction, as you always do, over on the Shankly Sessions, and you were a bit downtrodden. Which, if I was in the same boat as you, I've been like that all season. So, do you know what I mean? So you're getting you got that moment today. Tell us how you're feeling now that the dust has settled, the food is in the belly. You've had a couple of whiskeys. You're probably gonna fire up here on certain individuals. I know that you got a lot on your chest.
Forgive me if I go off on one here, but it's like, in the words of the great Vinnie Jones, it's been emotional, hasn't it? Oof. It's what do they say? It's the hope that kills you. You know, like it wouldn't have been so bad.
Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. Red said to him, "Hope will kill a man."
Yeah, if City had just come out today and put 5 past Villa in the first 20 minutes, probably wouldn't have felt as bad. And the timing of the goals and like just Villa going 2 up, and I thought the narrative and the script was written, and Coutinho getting the goal, and then all of a sudden 6 minutes of madness by Villa, and City get 3 goals. And look, before we get into it, hats off to Man City and congratulations to them on winning the Premier League. It's so tough to win it. It's 38 games. It's an absolute trawl. It's 9 months of helter-skelter. We pushed them to the limit. We came up short. Very proud of my team. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's trophies in the cabinet that people get remembered for. And not about whether you get 90 points or 100 points or 80 points or whether you come second, third, or fourth. It's, we're here and we're pushing this great Man City team with a great Liverpool team. But yeah, we just came up short, and that was it. We just, on our day, you can't even look back at the season. You can't look back at, like, the draw against Brentford, the West Ham, the draw against Brighton after being 2-0 up. And, you can nitpick throughout the season till it drives you absolutely insane. But there's no real point. The fact of the matter is, Man City won the league by a point again, which is a sickener. 3 out of the last 4 seasons were after putting 90 points on the board. In any other era, that would be 3 league titles, but not in this era. The bar's being raised so high. But yeah, I was kind of thinking back as well. Like you start trawling through stuff. Like if Mo Salah had taken that chance prior to Rodri scoring, would the information have filtered into the Etihad and created more nerves and if buts, maybes, and all this kind of crap? But look, at the end of the day, City are champs. We came second. We still have a great week to look forward to. Klopp has a massive task on his hands to lift those boys, but it just wasn't our day. Thiago came off injured. Now I'm hoping, praying he makes the final. It's not looking good. And then right after the game, we hear the news that Tchouaméni's agent has advised Liverpool that he's going to Real Madrid, another fucking sickener. All because of absolute...
That's official now, is it?
Well, it's not official, but that's the word from his agent. He's informed Liverpool he's going to Real Madrid, so it's as official as you get. it's as close to here we go as you'll get, and it's
That's a
just a
bit of
sickener.
it's a bit of a
It's an
kick in the
absolute,
bollocks to us as well,
it's
because obviously
it's another kick in the heart, and it's this the fucking greed of that little French fucker Mbappe, has trickled this down and stuff like that, and it just really frustrates the hell out of me. You know what I mean? It's just all around that situation is just poison. La Liga then are trying to get an investigation against PSG and stuff like that, because obviously La Liga had an ace in this as well, because when you bring in this guy, he's going to generate broadcasting rights, image rights, he's going to raise the profile of La Liga again. It's the relaunch of the Galacticos and all that kind of thing, not to get distracted from today in the Premier League and stuff like that.
no, it's relevant. It's relevant.
It's just been a catalogue of crap, and then that idiot Merson talking absolute shite. I just can't be listening to him anymore. It absolute crap. The way he put down the two domestic cups is absolutely shocking. And the way he turned around and said the Champions League is just for egos. What an absolute bellend. What an idiot. It just goes to show you how these guys get detached from the game. That the Champions League is all about egos. All those great teams that have won European Cups and Champions Leagues, all those fantastic managers and fantastic teams, and it was all about ego. That guy is an absolute sap and there's no place on TV talking absolute tripe. So there you go. That's my first arrow thrown. So
why don't you tell us how you really feel? It's a bit of a well, Paul Merson. I'm going to give this one to you. Maybe I shouldn't give that one to Paul Merson. Sorry, actually no. I'm going to say you definitely
give him this one.
If you were trying to ruffle feathers of Liverpool fans, you've definitely done so. I am on Camp Chelsea, so I kind of didn't really have a pony in the race. However, I am here, I suppose, representing a sector of Chelsea fans. So if you're going to ask me the cold hard truth, yes, I kind of wanted City to win it purely because there's a certain element, and you know what I mean by this, Niall, of Liverpool fans that kind of pissed me off because they kind of thought it was already done and the quadruple talk. And it's actually, my anger is more so aimed, actually, Niall, if I'm being honest with you, is the Sky Sports narrative. You know what I mean? They've been very, very, a little bit too pro Liverpool in the last few weeks. It's been like watching LFC TV. So I'm sure, now look, you're not going to see it my way, but I'm sure if the shoe was on the other foot, you'd probably see where a lot of neutral fans would go, this is actually really annoying. Carragher,
yeah, but I mean, I accept that, and I accept that. Yeah, and I've heard it before as well. Like we seen Eamon Dunphy a few years ago have a blow up on RTE when Liverpool were winning stuff and we're in the news all the time. Now he said he was fed up hearing about them and stuff. And look, I get that. If you're not a Liverpool fan, I can understand it. But like, they have to present the title race in a certain way.
Well, that's nonsense. I will agree with you. Look, I'll agree with you with the Paul Merson thing. Look, I know Paul Merson.
But I mean, you have to present the narrative of that title race and what it's coming down to and how close it is, and this real battle between Pep and Klopp, and Pep was coming out saying no one loves us, everyone wants Liverpool to do this, that, and the other, and then clearly you see the Premier League awards, and that's not the case. And other things like that. But it's just, look, it'll always generally in the last few weeks of the league, it'll always come down to the title race, if there is a title race.
There's an interesting, no, I get you. There's an interesting discussion, because we said we'd kind of put this together on the fly, and we'll start with Liverpool. We'll start with the main news, obviously, with Liverpool and Man City, because look, at the end of the day, they're the two. This is why we watch the Premier League, to see who's going to win it at the end of the season. Look, I mean, from my perspective, I might say that I was kind of hoping. Look, at the end of the day, it's like watching a boxing match, isn't it? You're gonna go with someone eventually, even though your heart's not in it. You're just gonna go, I'll pick the lad in the yellow shorts. I don't know why, but I'll go for him. That's kind of the way it is with with my feelings on this whole title race. It wasn't through any kind of hatred of Liverpool. I mean, look, all my best friends, including yourself, are Liverpool fans. You know what I mean? So it's banter and it's stuff like that. But I mean, I certainly wouldn't have begrudged, Liverpool winning that. I would have, and in fact, from my perspective, nobody here, whether they're Chelsea, United, City, can actually take away from what you boys have achieved so far this season, and what you still could achieve. It's an absolutely fantastic season. I think we're the only team that's played more games than you this year, and you're the second, but by a long shot. I think Chelsea and Liverpool have played more games than anybody this season by some distance, I believe. I don't have the exact numbers, Niall, off the top of my head, but it's 60 plus games anyway. So
yeah, I think we'll have ended up playing either a game or two more than you in the end. I think we're going to finish with either 63 or 64 games, and I think you're on 61 or something.
yeah, so it was close all the way up there.
Yeah, it's close all the way. Yeah, well, we got to two domestic cup finals, and
exactly.
We played the same amount of league games, and then the difference is where you dropped out of the Champions League and we kept on to the final, and then you played obviously the Super Cup and the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's been a slug, but you brought up something there that I was quite interested in. And we have a WhatsApp group chat like everybody does for the upper tier, and you brought up a couple of points yesterday on the Player of the Year. I was interested in this purely because the Player of the Year, it does kind of change a lot. Like I remember in Zola's first year, he won the Player of the Year when he came to Chelsea, if you remember, and when he had that partnership with Mark Hughes, 1997, I think, or 96, I can't remember. It was actually 1997, I think, that he won the Player of the Year, because this was something that the Premier League hadn't seen before. This type of player coming in and being able to, just be a little magician. So the criteria in a lot of people's eyes has been all about stat packing and how many goals and assists you have and blah, blah, blah. Who's the biggest brand, if you will. I'm kind of old school, and I'm sure you are. I kind of like to see, right, who's actually lit up the league, who's been the most consistent performer that, I think Mourinho, you probably saw something on Twitter. A lot of my followers will have seen that on Twitter, a quote from Mourinho. Football fans, I think I'm paraphrasing here, but football fans that use stats to back up their argument don't know anything about football. And I think that's a great point, because football is in the eye of the beholder, and it's about looking at the broader game. It's like you and me have been to football matches, whether it be on a local level or whether it be, on the top level. And what you see on TV isn't what you see on the pitch. You know what I mean? There's been arguments about Kevin De Bruyne getting it. Mo Salah possibly should have got it. I personally think that the most consistent player this year that I've watched was Sané. Mane, should I say? Jesus, Sané, he's over in Bayern. Mane. Now, you could make an argument that he missed a period of time with the AFCON, but I definitely think he's been as influential, if not more, than Mo Salah at times this year, but on a more consistent basis. But I mean, these are arguments you could make. When I look at then you could make the argument that I made to you yesterday. Rodri for Man City has been absolutely pivotal to how they play their football as well, consistently. And you kind of hit me back with, well, then you could look at, say, Van Dijk and those sort of players, like they're pivotal to how. So what do you think? Where do you think the lines are blurred, and where do you think we should draw the line in terms of what we're looking at? Because you're the one that's really kind of going for this in terms of the question, what is the criteria, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I suppose if you look at it, I was more sort of pissed off at the fact that it was announced prior to the season ending, and these are the Premier League awards.
It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been.
And I don't mean the timing of it. I think if you're going into a title race like that and everything is still on the line the last day, I don't think you can come out. Like, for instance, if Mo Salah had scored a hat-trick today, right?
And it was the winning.
And Liverpool had won the league today and Man City won nothing, and then you look back on that. Here's a guy, Kevin De Bruyne. And listen, this is no disrespect to Kevin De Bruyne. A little bit out there. I fancy Kevin De Bruyne as player of the year. But I just thought in context, at a time where the title race is going right to the wire, and today you're saying it went to the last 10 minutes. And you look at it, they're a kind of a flip-flop of each other if you think about it, because you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who's had a fantastic second half of the season, Mo Salah, who had a brilliant first half of the season. And now we're talking about Mo Salah here, who, we're not going to get into all the stats and stuff like that and the goals and the assists, but like he won the Golden Boot today. He shared it with Son, who was absolutely fabulous as well.
By the
Son,
way,
here's another contender.
Shout out
Absolutely
to
brilliant
Son.
player.
Yeah,
absolutely. And shout out to Spurs for getting top four as well. I know we go in on them at times, stuff like that, but shout out to them for getting it. It's always tough. And shout out to Leeds as well for surviving and Burnley going down, which kind of was a little sort of.
You're picking all my favorite teams, which are on the agenda. However, one team had to get top four. It was either going to be the Arsenal or the Spurs. And to be honest with you, with the trajectory of the way the last few weeks have gone and Arsenal being the cocky lot that they usually are, shout out to you, Mark Grehan. I hope you're watching today. I feel very happy for you, my brother. That top four guaranteed, that third place that you were coming for. As Ashley Cole says, enjoy. What's it? It's not Tuesday. It's not Wednesday. It's something else beginning with T. Niall, can you?
Yeah. What's the day before Friday?
That's the one. Yeah. No, I love you.
You can make a movie out of it the day before Friday.
Commiserations.
Commiserations to Arsenal. And look. At the end of the day, Arteta came fifth. He came behind Pep, Klopp, Tuchel, and Conte. You know what I mean? Everything in context.
But this is a man that was on the brink of being sacked, like at the start of the season, where people were calling for his head. So look, all the teams that you've mentioned there are absolutely fantastic, and we'll get to them. But continue on with your kind of case, I suppose.
Yeah, I just what I'd like to understand is how do they arrive at him being the player of the season? Where I think in the goal scoring and the assist charts, he's fifth. So when you think about what he did and you take it in context that he's playing for Man City, he's surrounded by world-class players every week. He's playing in a world-class team every week that is head and shoulders, with the exception of Liverpool, is head and shoulders above most teams in the league. Okay. And then you look at a team and I mentioned it yesterday in our WhatsApp group, and look, I wouldn't be batting for United at all. But if you look at what Ronaldo achieved this season in a horrendous United side who were absolutely deplorable and in the mud, and you look at what he was able to achieve, because you have to remember as well here, this is an individual award. And I've gone on record before saying, I hate individual awards in a team environment, because Mo Salah is only as good as the team around him lets him to be and his coach. Ronaldo is slightly different, because you can't say he's only as good as the players that are around him and the coach, because they were all, the gulf between him and the rest of Man United was so far apart, was crazy. But you look at Son, even you look at your own Mason Mount when we go on and talk about the young player. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But it's just, I don't know what criteria they use.
Forget young player. Mace actually, I think his stats are better than Kevin De Bruyne's this season as well. So, you know what I mean? It's
absolutely. But this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't, if you look at it on the outside, I'd love someone to sit down and tell me, okay, we did it based on this, and this. Not just eye test merchants, where Kevin De Bruyne for the last 6 or 8 weeks has been absolutely sublime, and he scored those 4 goals or whatever it was, and 3 of them were left-footed, and it was the first left-footed hat-trick by a right-footed player, and all that really good narrative and good stuff. And all of that is great, and I love all that. And I think he's an exceptional player. This is not about Kevin De Bruyne. This is about understanding how you arrive at the award. It's not whether Kevin De Bruyne should get it really, or whether Mo Salah should get it. It's really about, well, why did Kevin De Bruyne get it over Mo Salah? And someone explained that to me. Now, obviously, someone will come back today and in your comments, and they'll say, well, Man City are Premier League champions. So that's fine. That's one narrative. That's fine. That might be just one criteria. But they didn't know that yesterday. And they didn't know it a couple of weeks ago when they made the decision on this, because the decision wasn't just made yesterday. So it's like, how do you understand that? You know what I mean? And then it's a weird one, and don't even get me started on the young player of the year, because if I get into that, I'll just go ballistic again. Phil Foden, who I think is a fantastic player, but I could probably name you 3 or 4 players that I give the award to before Phil Foden, and that's not because I dislike Man City, because I don't dislike Man City. I appreciate what Man City can do and achieve. I appreciate the team that they are and stuff like that. There's no hatred there or anything like that. they're the better team and they won. And if we were doing this podcast yesterday or the day before the league was ever settled, I'd be saying the same thing. I think,
and which in fairness to you, you have done.
You seen it yesterday on the WhatsApp group when we spoke about it, and on my own shows and stuff like that. And I just think, again, I'd love to understand what it is. I'd love to understand how a guy like Phil Foden, is a better young player of the year than your own Conor Gallagher at Crystal Palace, who has been outstanding this year.
Or Mason Mount. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but like you asked
Gareth Mason Mount.
Like, Phil Foden's name isn't getting put on the England team ahead of Mason Mount. No, you played them together, but I can guarantee you that Mace is the first name on the team sheet. And if he was playing for Man City, it would be the same thing. I'm baffled by it.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing is just weird. But look, I don't really get head up in it. I like that to be just a conversational piece and a debate between us, kind of on our WhatsApp group or in our shows and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't get caught up in it because I don't really pay any regard really to individual awards in a team environment. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make me feel any better right now that I see a picture of Mo Salah with the golden boot and the award for the most assists. It doesn't do anything for me. You know what I mean? It's great for him, and if it's an individual thing. But like we didn't win the league today, you know what I mean?
Let's talk about Mo Salah a little bit though. I suppose there's one avenue almost been closed for him, or has it? Because you mentioned the Kylian Mbappe thing there. I kind of only got my head around it the last 24 hours. I've seen a lot of Chelsea channels come out and kind of almost defend it and say, he's not giving up on this, he's not giving up on that, blah, blah, blah. And this is people that I suppose just have a liking for the guy or the player, but whatever. I think it's without a doubt, as a Chelsea fan and as a fucking victim of come at me guys with the victim narrative, but I mean, as a victim of financial fair play and supposed underhanded tactics, how PSG are going to get away with this, because not only are PSG what's the deal, Niall? What's the numbers in the deal?
I think when I looked at it yesterday, it's a 3-year contract. It's £1 million a week. It's
a week.
Yeah, something like £1 million a week. I think they're saying it's something like 800,000, but apparently it's £1 million a week.
Over 52 weeks is 52 million a year.
Yeah, and it was 100 million re-sign on bonus. And then he has more, I think he gets a bigger percentage or something of his image rights than what would normally happen. And then apparently, and there's also bonuses in there as well for winning the French league, which I think is a joke, winning the Ballon d'Or, and winning the Champions League, which they won't have to worry about, because I think if anyone has a heart in football, everyone should just pull together and stop PSG ever winning the Champions League. It's disgusting. But apart from that, anyway, let's not go down that road. But the thing that annoyed me the most, okay, two things. One was the way, I wonder, was he actually really going to go to Real Madrid, or was he leveraging Real Madrid to get that deal at PSG? Now, part of that deal as well apparently is that he has a direct input at a board level to director of footballs and managers. Now, that for me is absolutely shocking.
Well, Leonardo's was sacked instantly, wasn't he? Or parted ways.
Which is no surprise. But I think that annoyed me the most. One was the way he leveraged Real Madrid. And look, people will come on here and go, well, Real Madrid have done this in the past and stuff like that. Yeah, fine. That's okay. But this is another level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This has left a taste in my mouth similar than when I first heard what Haaland and the dad and the agent were trying to get for Haaland. It left that same type of taste. But the other thing that annoyed me really was the lack of ambition that he showed as a kid for his career and his legacy. And I think that's what fundamentally annoyed me the most, in terms of the fact that he was happy to stay in that comfort zone of the French league. You know, sometimes when we talk about Messi and Ronaldo and how great they were, two of the best that ever played the game, really, right? Separated, you know, you could separate them from various different arguments and stuff like that. But the one thing that tends to always come up is Messi basically did his career at Barcelona. And when you look at Ronaldo had a career at United, at Real Madrid, at Juventus, and back to United. He moved around. He obviously, you know, he had ambition to test himself in a different environment, a different culture, a different league and stuff like that. And I just thought for this kid to be so young, and now we're not talking about him going from PSG to like Scunthorpe. He's going from PSG to Real Madrid. And I just thought the lack of ambition in terms of his career and his legacy and what he could be. He was going to be the next Galactico wherever he went. Absolutely monstrous. He would have lit up La Liga. He would have been, I actually mentioned on the show yesterday that I did, that I thought it would have been the second coming of Messi. That's what it would have been. And then Barcelona would have to step up. Atleti would have to step up. All these teams would have to step up and raise a game. The same way this summer, we all have to step up and raise a game to bridge that gap with Man City now. That's happening. They're going to bring in Haaland, Julian Alvarez. We have to now move into that situation and try and step up to bridge that gap. And I was just disgusted in it yesterday. I was disgusted in the way it was portrayed and the smugness of him and stuff like that. Like, you know, like I got what I wanted and more. Fuck you, Real, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I just thought I could feel Real's pain last night coming through on Twitter and on social media and stuff like that. And most people would turn around and go, ha, Real Madrid pain, ha ha. You know what I mean? But I just thought it showed a really bad side, a real dark side of football, that like these guys are going out. There's no doubt it was premeditated. Was he ever going to Real Madrid, or was he just waiting on PSG to push the button on this monstrous deal? You know what I mean? And then I like this, like when we think about where the world is at the moment, so that we're football fans, we love football, we love the romance of football, we love what football's about, the terraces, the, you know, going to matches with your dad, sharing these experiences, creating memories and stuff like that. And then I'm just thinking, £1,000,000 a week. Like, where does the greed end? £1,000,000
How much
a
money
week.
do you need sometimes?
And you know, we spoke about this in the summer as well with Messi as well, and all the stuff that was going on with Barcelona and the mess that it was, the political thing and the money and everything that was going on. And we called him out on his greed as well. And I just think it's absolutely disgusting. I really think it's disgusting. And I don't care what foundations they have and any other crap that's going on. Look, we know the situation with the money with PSG. I spoke about it last night, how they posted losses last year, how they were running bigger. Like,
that was going to be my next question, because when, like, for me personally, when I look at, say, you know, Chelsea were victims of financial fair play, but yet Man City, who don't fill their ground out, and PSG, who basically don't fill their ground out every week either. They have all these marketing deals, you know, with Jordan and all this kind of stuff. And you're going, how, like, we've been calling for an investigation into PSG since day one. And I think the football community now, not just La Liga, needs to get together and go, right, let us actually know what FFP is. And also, when you're telling us to balance our books and do this over a 3 to 4 year period, we want to actually have clarity on what PSG are doing. We want to see if there's these new sponsorships, these new, you know, mystery sponsors that keep coming in every year, because we can talk about the politics of things and, you know, Abramovich this, Abramovich that, yet you've got the same, you know, war crimes going on with PSG's owners and stuff like that, and Newcastle, you know, City, I suppose, to an extent as well. And it's like, it seems to be one rule for one rule for another. And what I'm really intrigued by is that PSG are still talking about possibly bringing the likes of Lukaku in. Ziyech has been a name mentioned that they're interested, which I would happily say good riddance to both, to take them off our hands. All the while that they're still going to have Messi on the books on the salary he's on, Neymar on the books on the salary he's on. Now, there's rumor that Neymar could be out the door. Maybe that's an avenue where Real Madrid look at. I know Real Madrid were looking at Neymar a while ago. So maybe that's, I don't know, that's something to watch on, I suppose.
I'd be very surprised if Real Madrid ever did business with PSG again.
I'll be surprised if anyone does, and I don't. And this is where I'm getting at. You know, Paul Pogba, another player who supposedly possibly has an agreement with PSG as well to go there. Like,
I think he's gone to Juve, isn't he? That's the talk.
Well, I hope so. Or Real Madrid. I know Real were after Pogba as well. I mean, Real Madrid would probably be a good move for him. But this is just absolutely sickening, because I think with a 3-year deal as well, not the standard 5-year contract, which are at that 3 years. So what does that mean? In 3 years, he negotiates the same deal or more? Because technically, any team that's trying to sign the kid, which he won't be a kid by then, and he's not a kid now. I'm sorry. Um, Whoever's trying to sign him next means that he has to lower his demands just to play his football. And then what's it in 3 years? Is he going to suddenly take his career serious or?
Well, he won't. It won't, you see, because what happens with the market is, and what we've seen in the past is, the market just inflates and adjusts to the latest big deal, and then that just becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And this is what's sickening about
So
it.
Mo Salah can go, well, 400 grand to Liverpool. That's, for my numbers, if you're matching them against, Mbappe's numbers.
But think about what you said there. 400 grand now is a snip in the ocean, really. It's nothing now compared to this deal. You know what I mean?
Disgraceful.
It's disgusting. And the funny thing about it, I don't know how other people reacted to it. I was one of few where I put an actual episode out about it, saying my distaste and disgust for it. And I've done this before with other deals as well. And I just think, what's it going to be in 5 years' time? Is a season ticket going to be 10 grand? Is there going to be no football fans in the ground anymore? Only rich people and stuff like that? Where is this going to go? Are they going to get rid of seats in stadiums now and just create loads of hospitality boxes? Because us normal football fans who just work 9 to 5 every day,
peasants,
every week, and stuff like that,
yeah.
And we just can't afford it. We get butchered out of it, and stuff like that. And it's just, you know what I mean? And then when the narrative suits them, people come on and talk about the romance of the game and stuff like that. Realistic. Where's the romance of that deal compared to Real Madrid, who thought they were getting an absolute star to go into La Liga, to boost the league, who's on its knees from what happened with Barcelona and Real Madrid and stuff like that. And I just think, and look, I'd never fight cases for those two teams. I'd never fight cases for La Liga. I follow Liverpool Football Club. I love Liverpool Football Club. The one thing I say about our club is that, by and large, we do things the right way. And I think that has to be commended and stuff like that. And I think that's the case for a lot of teams in the league and stuff like that. But I just thought that whole deal yesterday and his lack of ambition, I'm just going to stay in PSG because, just give them the French league. Just give them, why are they having a French league for? Just give them the title every year. And I know people will come on and go, oh, but Lille won it last year. Well, of course Lille won it last year. So what? So every dog, sometimes the dog wags his tail every so often, you know what I mean? But, you may as well give them the next 10 leagues because they're going to bring in these players. And Mbappe is there, this kind of money. But this guy now is going to be talking to the board about who he fancies as a director of football and who he fancies as a manager or not. And you're there going, what? So you may as well have made him player manager and made him player director of football as well. It's an absolute joke. They're a joke of a club. They've always been a joke of a club. And I said it on the podcast yesterday. They're the laughingstock of European football. The laughingstock.
Yeah,
it's it's sickening. It's just sickening.
What authority does obviously Pochettino is going now as well, who's an absolutely fantastic manager and I think has been absolutely disrespected here. Same way, Tuchel fucking got out of that cauldron as well, didn't he? After winning the league, he was like, I'm out of here.
Look, no manager there is going to get any more than a season because the reality is,
what's Zidane's power when he comes in?
Well, I suppose he comes in on the back of legacy and respect and winning and a record, and he's French and he's, you know what I mean, he's all these things and stuff like that. So it's a different.
But if he has an argument or Mbappe takes a dislike to him, then what?
But look, the reality is, unless they buy the Champions League, unless they bring in, as you said, more and more and more players, so that they have 3 world-class players for nearly every position, and they might win the Champions League. But even if they win the Champions League, they win the Champions League, there's no romance in that.
No.
Now, that's where Merson is right when we talk about egos. That's where that kicks in, but that's different.
Romance is this time last year. Chelsea winning the Champions League in a team that had sacked their biggest legend possibly in the team in Lampard, and a manager coming in and also having a very, very difficult pathway to the Champions League, to the final, and then coming up against Man City, with 2 absolute powerhouses. It's not to say Chelsea they're this small team. Obviously, we've spent a lot of money. I get that, but it's the journey. Do you know what I mean? That was pretty much the team that Lampard had built after after the transfer ban and stuff like that, and winning. Like, I'm sorry, like we're talking about Antonio Rudiger not getting 200 grand a week, and we're talking now about a player getting $1 million a week. Like, there's horses for courses here, and something just doesn't feel right. And the fact that there isn't going to be, well, there have to be an investigation, and I think more teams other than Real Madrid and Barcelona. I mean, the fact that Barcelona are even kind of going, listen, these guys are our biggest rivals, but what's going on over at PSG? Because they know, they feel the salt in their mouth after the Messi thing, and and then Messi coming out with the tears. He never wanted to leave Barcelona, but they couldn't give him that extra 200 grand a week. Well, if you love the club, stay, motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? For less. And I mean, it's the same. I suppose it's the same with Rudiger too. Now, Rudiger's one is a little bit different because the sanctions, the club basically had negotiations with him in August and then nothing till January. That's on Marina. There's two sides to every story. So I get that. And I kind of understand Rudiger's, decision now. But you get the narrative I'm coming from here. Like it's, I don't know. There's something very, very not right about that club, about its owners, about its ownership. They'll announce a new sponsorship deal that they'll make a company name, from some randomer, and I think the real problem that we have, and look, I might get fire for this. It's easy to just fire shots at Russia here. No pun intended. You know what I mean? It's easy to just fire shots at Russia here. All the while, all of our Western countries are still buying oil from Russia. Don't forget that. Don't want to get too political, but that's a fact. We're afraid to look over at the Saudis. We're afraid to look over at UAE, Abu Dhabi, all that kind of stuff. We're afraid to. And they're all in bed together. It's the same with this World Cup, this farce of a World Cup that's coming up next. It's absolutely shameful. And you know what? These Middle Eastern countries are getting away with it. They will not fucking stop until they literally ruin the game. And everyone is too afraid to say it because of this woke mentality or whatever. But it's ruining the game. It's ruining the game. And we're seeing it, case in point. This is the first fucking step to it.
Yeah, it's just frustration.
And people can call me a hypocrite, and look, people can call me a hypocrite. Oh, yeah, well, Roman Abramovich did this, Roman Abramovich did that. Roman Abramovich came in, built a team, invested money in communities. And basically, if you look at the net spend of Roman Abramovich over the last 20 years, United has still spent more. Do you know what I mean? Over the course of that time, Liverpool were up there. City have absolutely blown it out of the water. So again, that validates the point that I'm making. It's absolutely farcical, I have to say. It's farcical.
It's frightening. It's frightening to think where the game might be in 10 years' time. I mean, I remember going back years ago. You might be a bit young for this. I remember when United signed Rio Ferdinand, and I went, "Oh my God!" and the money that was involved.
I'm definitely not too young for that.
You know what I mean? And I remember, I remember when you think of all those big deals that happened and stuff like that
from Leeds, wasn't it? And it was something like
history of
it was like 35 million or something from Leeds.
Yeah, it was just I think it was 29 million or 30 million or something like that.
Euros, I'm thinking of. Sorry,
yeah, and it was just, and I was just thinking, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? But now you're talking about a guy here who's going to get paid on a weekly basis, the transfer fee for some players.
Yeah.
And it's just for me, it's just scary. And look, if your viewers want to come on and they want to comment and stuff like that, if they think, oh, well, hang on a minute, he's a generational talent and he's this, that, and the other, and that's fine if that's your view. But then don't come back to me in 5 years' time when your season ticket's $5,000 and start talking about it. You know what I mean? Because someone has to pick up the tab somewhere.
Yeah, and
Someone has to pick up the tab somewhere, and you're either going to pay for it. Look at the cost of a beer and look at the cost of food and grounds now. It's restaurant prices. It's ridiculous
but
for
yet the
pie and
quality is still
chips
the
and a
same.
beer. It's
Yeah.
pie and chips. It's the same. It's the same quality of stuff that was there 10, 15, 20 years ago, and the inflation on it, it's restaurant prices now. I heard guys giving out about, who was I talking to? Mark Lawrenson was on Off the Ball the other day, and he was talking about it. I think he was talking about the food was shocking and stuff that, or something like that for the price. I think it was Mark Lawrenson who was talking about it on Off the Ball, and he was going, he couldn't believe the price of stuff. He was in a queue to get a beer or something like that, and I think a beer was like £8.50 or something like that, and the food was the same, a hot dog or something like that. And it's absolutely deplorable, like, you know what I mean? And it's just, and that's where it filters down. Don't be queuing up to buy a beer and a hot dog and you're paying 28 and £30 and then moaning about that. And then it's all about, oh, but Mbappe is a generational talent. Someone has to pick up that tab. And that's where it filters down. You're gonna start paying 300 and 400 quid. Imagine at the moment you're paying 120 quid for a jersey. Now, imagine how much you're going to pay for an Mbappe jersey next season. Remember when they brought Neymar in and they launched that jersey? It was like 200 quid or something like that. And they launched it. They sold out. They sold out for weeks on it. You know what I mean? People are gullible. They get led around by the nose and they accept it. That's the narrative.
I generally call people sheeple nowadays, and that's just the way they are. They're sheep, and they blindly follow whatever the next big trend is. And the problem that I have, and it's the same in football, the problem that I have is that you look at players, one player that you mentioned, who I think is a great show for Player of the Year, in what he actually helped a team achieve to make them not even look more ridiculous than they were this season, is Ronaldo. You know, we call them generational talents, Messi generational talents. I've been saying it for years that Messi is, you know, an absolute sham, as more so as a vulture. I'm sure, I don't know the guy personally. None of us do. Could be a nice guy, but I'll tell you one thing: he's a money hungry motherfucker, and that's a fact. Because he's shown it. He turned his back on his boyhood club. He had the chance to go to a Chelsea, a Liverpool, a Man United, a Man City, you know, clubs with actual tradition, and go to the biggest league in the world and test himself. No. He went somewhere, and let's be real, didn't really light it up the way that we thought he would. That shows where his mind's at. Whereas we had a year older Ronaldo who went back to the team that made it happen for him. And it works both ways. He made it happen for them too. And absolutely lit it up this year. I don't care what anyone says. Look at his numbers. Look at the amount of times he got United out of jail. The Champions League is a perfect example. What was the game against Atalanta? Good Lord. Like, that's the best player in the world. You know what I mean? That's the player, or the greatest of all time, whatever you go, whatever way you want to spin it. I'm actually, I thought I'd be firing you up on this podcast. You fired me up now. It's shocking, and I think it's about time. I think as soon as you go to PSG, that's it. You've signed your, you've made your intentions very, very clear. You know, and not some of these players that we've never really heard of. You know, we're football fans, so we probably know most of their team. So I get it's like last year, Hakimi. You know, Chelsea were in from the same amount of money. They offer what, 100 grand extra? Yeah, I'll go there. No problem, because it's an extra 100 grand.
Gini
Wijnaldum.
Perfect example. Gini Wijnaldum had a deal in place, I think, with Barcelona, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he turned his back on Barcelona last minute because he was offered an extra 100 grand at PSG. And he went there. Much Gini Wijnaldum done this season? He's barely been on the bench. He's even come out and said that his heart is broken. He should have never left Liverpool.
Yep.
You reap what you sow.
And no sympathy. No sympathy. Let's look at our own league a little bit closer. The obviously you mentioned Leeds stayed up. That was crazy. I mean, I know a lot of Leeds fans. I'm almost at this point married into a Leeds family. And
far behind you. Lauren's boyfriend is a Leeds fan as well.
Yeah, so I'd say there's a lot of happy folk there, and I'm delighted for them. To be fair, I know I know a lot of people will be giving out to me here over that, saying I'm delighted for them, but I'm delighted for them for one reason and one reason only. We get to kick the heads off them again next year, lads. That's why I'm saying it. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to be waiting every other 2, 3, 4 years for Leeds to come back up and have those battles at Ellen Road. And come on, bring Millwall up too. I was rooting for Millwall to come up too, just so we could have a straightener on the pitch. Yeah, straightener on the pitch. But yeah, Leeds stayed up. Burnley go down. I don't think Burnley are going to be any loss to the Premier League at the moment. I think they're a woeful football team, to be honest with you. Like Sean Dyche, have to say, thought he probably got a little bit hard done by. Should have given him till the end of the season. Again, I don't have a pony in the race, but I thought it was a little bit. What you reckon? The bottom half of the table was a very intriguing one today. I mean, it was, if you didn't obviously have the pony in the race with Liverpool and City, you're kind of looking at that going, geez, that's interesting, right? Especially with Everton involved as well.
Yeah, well, I think I've said on podcasts and stuff like that, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans online on the socials and all, they were dying for Everton to go down. I didn't want Everton to go down because I like derbies. I like the history of derbies, especially within a city like Liverpool. You know, I don't want to meet Everton in like the third round of a Carabao Cup or something like that. I look forward to the two derbies every season. Doesn't necessarily mean that I like Everton Football Club, but I think derbies are really important in the context of the league and stuff like that. I think even for yourself, you're Chelsea, you're a London boy. You know what I mean? Like if there was no other London clubs in the league, you know what I mean? Does a gap or an emptiness there?
Well,
Or something like that,
the Old Firm is a perfect example of that. Like look at what the Scottish League was without, like, Celtic needs Rangers just like Rangers need Celtic, and like that was I mean, I think they met like in the second or the third round in the cup at one point when Rangers were literally down in the bottom division. And it was kind of like, this is not the same, you know what I mean? And now you have the Old Firm again, and it's lit up, so you do need it.
Yeah, I think the derbies within the league, I think, are really, really important because they create a kind of a narrative or an experience or a build-up that wouldn't be there otherwise.
Yeah.
So I was happy enough for Everton to stay up. I wouldn't necessarily agree with the celebration in terms of how they did it, but I'm sure it was a massive relief for them. They were under pressure there for a lot of weeks. And I know Darren, who does be on the shows with me, he's a big fan of Richarlison and stuff like that. People would know that I'm not. But I just think I think Burnley had probably, sometimes you look at teams and you think they've ran their course. Like we know with Norwich, they just yo-yo up and down. They get the Premier League money, they go back down. They come back up to get the Premier League money, they go back down. It's like a game of table tennis with them. You're just knocking back and forward into the Prem and stuff like that. Watford is a little bit different, but I think once they put Roy in there, I think that was the end.
Yeah.
I don't think anything good was going to come out of that. And then it was a toss-up between Burnley and Leeds, and if I had to pick one, I would pick Leeds to stay because I often talk about Leeds as being one of those clubs that feels to me like it's a Premier League club. And that's why I would love Nottingham Forest to come up, because I think Nottingham Forest, with their legacy and their history and everything else there, they feel to me like they're a Premier League club.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
And that's why, and that's my only thinking on it. I don't necessarily have a like or a dislike for Leeds. I don't really think about them that much. But the fact that they came back up, and it took them so many years to come back up, and in fairness, they've had a tough time this year with Bielsa and stuff like that. And then this guy Marsh came in, and he seems like he was talking to like quarterbacks and offensive lines rather than football club, so it was kind of a little bit weird in the way that he was trying to motivate these guys. And then, they had a lot of players out from injury, and then they didn't do themselves any favors either with their disciplinary record and stuff like that. So Leeds are going to really need to go out there and find a really strong manager to go in there and grab these guys by the ears and say, that's not acceptable. That 2-footed tackle that you did there could have cost us our Premier League status. Luke Ayling and stuff like that. The other sending off the other day and stuff like that. Like they have to be like, they have to figure out, like, I know reputation precedes itself and stuff like that. But there's no room for that now. You know what I mean?
Well, like
You
there is
have
no
to.
Billy Bremner anymore. You know what I mean? We can't. Like I had a
It's a different game
conversation.
now.
Yeah, like I remember talking to Chopper Harris, and we were kind of talking. Remember, he was talking to my dad, and he kind of goes, "If we done those games that that we done back in the 70s, like it'd be six aside,
And
game be
no
called
one on the
off.
pitch.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There'd be no one on the pitch, so." It's stupid, but yeah, look, I like Leeds to be there just purely from the traditional standpoint that you want to play these games. These are the games you look forward to because you look forward to winning them as a fan, and you get emotionally invested in them, 100%. So yeah, I get it. Like as we kind of wrap up now, I'd be remiss to say, you started the show off going at Paul Merson, he's an Arsenal legend and a Villa legend, but a Chelsea fan, I suppose. At times, he does kind of piss me off sometimes as well with some of the stuff he says. But
he's a flip flopper when he suits.
He is. But one of the plebs that pretty much everyone, bar Liverpool fans, hates right now is Jamie Carragher, who just seems to get himself in trouble with anybody who's anybody. You mentioned Richarlison earlier. Richarlison said, "Keep my name out of your mouth. I think you're a piece of shit." This is a lad who spat at a 14-year-old girl, don't forget, and still kept his job at Sky. Not a nice human being, in my opinion, considering when people like to throw stones at or John Terry. I mean, when you're looking at it from your point of view, I suppose as a fan, you're kind of like you want your lads to be. You know what I mean? You want your lads to be there and kind of up for it. But as you said, this isn't Liverpool fan TV or Man United fan TV or Man City fan TV or Chelsea fan TV. A lot of people, apparently Sky's numbers are absolutely, they've dropped for subscriptions next year because of all this. So don't know whether it's a good business idea for Sky to be really kind of pushing the non-professional, non-biased kind of narrative on their games anymore. Do you have any thoughts on that? And Cara just getting himself into these ridiculous beefs with people. I mean, look, he there was a good one today, obviously, with Liam Gallagher. Liam Gallagher called him a bell end, and Carragher turned around and said, "Oh well, Oasis are shy compared to the Beatles, and you'll never win a Champions League and all that stuff." I wouldn't. That's a kind of a stupid thing to say because he'll look stupid next year if Man City do win it. But he's a Sky broadcaster saying Man City will never win a Champions League. He's meant to hold a certain professionalism here, right? You know what I mean?
I think that's all gone now because what we've seen has happened over the last couple of years basically is that the likes of the bigger companies, the likes of Sky Sports and BT and even the likes of say they're being challenged now by the likes of creators,
Premier
content
Sports
creators.
and all that, and even other sports.
But I mean, even content creators. I even think like you'll see it now. There's a lot of really good, talented people out there at the moment running football channels on YouTube, and
like
stuff
us,
like that.
Like you and me.
Well, we're like us, content creators, but at a much higher level than us, obviously. Guys who've been doing it for years and have huge followings and stuff like that. And you've seen in recent times, you see now that Mark Goldbridge off the United Stand, who now has a show on TalkSport, I think on a Friday night, he does the Sports Bar 10 for 1 or something like that. And I think what happens is those bigger channels now are a little bit fearful of what's coming out through the likes of Arsenal Fan TV or the Chelsea TV, the bigger channels out there that you guys, you'd know them more so than me, the Lewis of this world and Giannis and guys like that. No. And I think they're worried about this now because those people are now taking the audience that typically would have been the audience for your Sky Sports shows and stuff like that when they used to do the phone-ins and stuff like that. No. And I think that's a little bit concerning to them. So what they're trying to do now is, from looking from the outside in anyway, they're trying to present people who are ex-players and stars and stuff like that, and they're trying to nearly bring them down to that level of normal human guys like me and you in a bar and how we would react. Because if I was in a bar today and Liam Gallagher said that to me in a bar, I'd say, yeah, but where's your Champions League? So that's how I would say it. But I'm a normal guy. I'm not Jamie Carragher or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's a lot of that element. What they're trying to do is like you can see the way they're structuring the programs now. It's very laid back. It's very kind of like, you know, nearly lounge or bar style type of thing. It's very loose. You know, they go on to panels and they slag each other. You'll see the boys, they slag Mika Richards about his hair and his clothing and stuff like that. They slag Gary, they slag Jamie, they all slag each other.
Do you think
like
then
that
that's where opposition fans then get the hump a little bit, which rightly so, because it's just constantly a Liverpool representation or a Man United representation, and then Mika Richards with the Man City representation? Like where's the balance?
Well,
you know,
well,
if that's the road they want to go down, then why not, like, why can't we get our Johnny Gileses on when Leeds are playing Liverpool or Man United or whatever? Why can't we get, because it just seems to be, and that's where people have the narrative of this is Liverpool fan TV.
Well, they do that match days. I mean, if you look at match days,
Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at a match day or you look at build up to a match or something like that, they generally nearly always have an ex-player there. If you're looking at just a standalone show that's like an analysis show or something like that, they tend to bring in Carragher and Neville because they tend to be regarded as two of the better pundits out there at the moment.
But now they're not. They used to be because they were unbiased. That's the problem.
Yeah, but the problem is they don't have a slide-in backup for that at the moment.
I mean, Jamie Redknapp was one of the better ones, and I don't know how he got outed by either of Carragher or Neville, to be honest with you. Because
but I mean, you're seeing what happened with Jamie as well when he had the head-to-heads with Roy Keane and stuff like that as well. But the problem that you have as well, I suppose, is they're targeting an audience that's whatever's flavour of the month.
That seems to be declining.
Yeah, well, it might do to a point, but the thing about it is, if you look at it, what happens is Liverpool over the last few years have been on the rise. So there's a huge fan base there, which creates a huge viewing audience. Man City's rise and stuff like that. Obviously, people tune in and stuff like that. Chelsea, obviously, they've been tuning in a lot for that as well. I mean, this whole ownership thing, maybe you might say tuning in for the wrong reasons and stuff like that. Yeah. But still, if you look at, there hasn't been a day gone by where the Chelsea situation hasn't been discussed, either good, bad, narrative, or whatever it is.
Little Cave fucking shithead, the worst source man on the fucking planet, has been basically saying that Chelsea, it could all go wrong now. It could all, Chelsea, our source, and then it comes out and goes, actually, no, it's about to happen. And he turns around and goes, well, our sources were good too. No, they weren't, you fucking little ferret. Yeah, but stupid little fucking idiot. And I speak on behalf of the whole Chelsea fan base by saying that Sky Sports is muck. Jamie Carragher is muck. Gary Neville is muck. We need to weed out this shit because, in my opinion, people tune in for Roy Keane. They tune in for Graham Souness. They tune in for the banter that Roy Keane and Micah Richards have. You know, this blatant. I mean, look, when Carragher gets excited, you can't understand what he's saying anyway. And that's the greatest thing. When the script isn't there for him, it's back to, you know, it's back to primal. I still
think. Do you know what it is? I still
he commentates on Liverpool games now too. You do realise that.
Yeah, but I still think. Yeah, but I mean that's all. But I mean Gary commentates on United games.
That's also madness.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, this is what draws people in.
It doesn't.
It's driving. As you said, they are suffering.
It's driving.
Well, it's not. Well, it's not driving. Well, it's not driving. It's not driving the United fans.
Why are Sky's numbers down now? Because don't forget, there's not just two teams in the Premier League.
No, there's not just two teams in the Premier League, but there's two teams at the moment fighting it out head to head.
And telling the thing fans who they should follow.
But that's always been the case. And when United were at their dominance as well, it was the same thing. It was lean towards United.
But it was more professional, you know what I mean? Balanced commentary.
But the problem that you have, it wasn't balanced commentary. Look at Martin Tyler. There was nothing balanced about commentary on it. Let's be honest here. Look at Martin Tyler the other day for the Southampton game when Minamino scored. He played it down like it was a death in the family.
But that's
as opposed to Peter Drury. So it's you can't say that. No, we know for years that the commentary's been biased as hell.
But when you have pundits coming out like what's the baldy Danny Murphy coming out and saying the nation is going to get behind Liverpool. They're the team of the neutral. They're not anymore.
But if you think about it, right? If you
Because
think
you
about
can't
it,
tell people what to think.
no, but I agree with what you're saying. But if you think about it, you're talking about Talk Sport there, who generate the most clickbait and the most controversy.
But they're not the national service to provide you with your.
But these guys, let's be honest here, these guys are nearly scripted to spin a kind of a narrative to do this. You know what I mean?
But that's
this
what
is the way
Sky's
they,
now.
that's the way they
Sky's
do
that
it.
now.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. This is not a new thing. It was back in the days when United were dominant, when Arsenal were coming up. It was always there.
No, but
it's always been there. It's just now. It's just, you know what the difference is now? The difference is now, because it's a different level, is because it's Man City, and because Man City are now so successful, and Pep and stuff like that. But they don't have the following. They don't have the legacy. They don't have the history that all these other clubs have. And that causes the problem then, because everyone should be going ballistic about Man City, that they're brilliant and they're this and they're that and the fanfare and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't. If you think about it, by the time Wednesday rolls around this week, who's going to be talking about the league title? No one. Everyone's going to be talking about the road to the Champions League final and about Liverpool and Real Madrid. And that's what the problem is. Whereas if you think about it, if Liverpool won the league today, they'd be still talking about Liverpool on Wednesday winning the league as part of the build-up to the Champions League.
And how do you feel then? How do you feel then?
That's there.
Well, say you as a Liverpool fan, right? How do you feel because of what the likes of Sky Sports have done, and say Talk Sport have done, and a lot of the national media broadcast companies have done, is that they made Liverpool actually become almost the England where nobody wants them to win because you'll never hear the end of it. That's literally that's the narrative of the neutral. Yeah.
But they do that with everything.
Let me finish. But I can tell you as a neutral and looking at it from the outside, not just United fans, I'm talking about Leeds United fans. Every single fan wanted, anyone that wasn't a Liverpool fan today wanted Liverpool to lose the league today. Because, and it's nothing to do, I explained this to my missus, right? Because I actually felt a bit sorry for you. To be honest, I said this at the start of the show and I'll stand by it. You know what I mean? I have friends that are fucking Liverpool fans like yourself, one of my best friends in the world, but we can have a debate.
But it's never mattered to us.
No,
because we lived all this in the 70s and the 80s. We lived all this in the 80s up till the 90s when we were really, really successful. We were that hated team. Then United took over and United became that hated team. No one wanted United to win at in the 90s and in the 2000s except for United fans. No, it was everyone. Look who coined that phrase. ABU was anyone but United.
But the problem is, it's not though, because you only have one Premier League to show for it. One.
But people spin the narrative that's a Premier League. It doesn't matter. It's league titles.
But no,
you can't judge like that. We've 19 league titles. I understand that. It took us 30 years to get back to the dance. That's fine. But it's the same thing. If Chelsea went out and won the last 6 Premier League titles and won 3 Champions Leagues in the last 5 years, would anyone be rocking the fanfare for Chelsea? No, bar Chelsea fans. Everyone would want Chelsea to lose.
People hated us before.
It's just natural.
People hated us before we were winning anything. I get that. I've always been fighting this. I have
but it elevates. But with success, it elevates more.
Oh, 100%. So I'm in your corner here. I'm in your corner here. I have the spit bucket for you, Niall. I have the spit bucket, and I'll put the gum shield in for you. Trust me. I'm in your corner.
I don't need to fight it because I've had years of it. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. I don't care whether fans are up for us or hate us or against us. Liverpool Football Club has lived that, worn that T-shirt for years and years and years. It doesn't bother me at all.
But I
don't care who wanted City.
Though you are not a hated team like you like to think that you are. It's quite clear.
I don't think we're a hated team. Yeah. I think people enjoy watching Liverpool play football the way they do and the way they go about their business.
And I'll be honest with you, I think Liverpool play better football than City. If you ask me now, right, what would I want my new model to be? If I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm looking at the model that Liverpool have kind of set the precedent on. I'm going, I want to look at that Liverpool model rather than looking at that shite show model that we were talking about in France, or talking about, I suppose, the watered down version of it here in England with Man City. I have no problem with Man City. lot of good Manchester fans. They're mostly United fans because they don't know many Man City fans. But there's obviously clearly a lot of them. No matter, even though we joke and say, "Oh, there's no Man City fans," it's Manchester City. Manchester, the city itself, seems to be full of Man City fans more so than United fans. You know what I mean? It's always kind of been that way, but probably not enough to fill the Etihad every week, which I'm sure you will agree. So I'm with you on that 100%. I suppose where we kind of, I suppose, differ in opinions is that I think Jose said it years ago. He goes, "You ever notice when you look at, you look at all the commentary on Sky, it's ex-Man United player, ex-Liverpool player, ex-Man United player, ex-Liverpool player," and he goes, "One was successful through the 90s all the way through the 2000s. The other wasn't." Like, Jamie Carragher is not in the same league, and I'm sorry if this ruffles feathers. He's not achieved the same as an Ashley Cole or a John Terry or any of these people. He was the next version down. Not that that's not to knock his ability, but he's not a Van Dijk. You know what I mean? He was a decent player who had a bit of heart.
But I don't think that
So
has anything to do with getting a job as a pundit in Sky Sports.
no, but
I
but you
mean,
could, no,
Jamie
but Sky,
Carragher, like,
but they have no problem with a video of him coming out spitting at a young girl, and it's like, I will
well,
still,
well,
we'll
they,
still
well,
keep
they,
on.
they did have a problem with it because they suspended him over it and all. They didn't. He wasn't back in work the next day.
No,
They
but he was
suspended
back
him. He
for
was
the next
gone.
season.
He was gone for the. Yeah, but he was gone. Yeah, but that's a choice that they made. He came out. He knew he did wrong. He apologized. They accept that he had made an apology. And actually, funny enough, Gary Neville, funny enough, went and batted for him in order to get him back in there and stuff like that, as well, as far as I know. But that's neither here nor there. Like, you're not getting a job in there. Like, there's loads of lads in the past who have got. Should look at our own Irish punditry. Our own Irish punditry is made up of guys who did literally nothing in the game.
Well, I
You
think,
know what I mean?
with exception to John Giles. John Giles was
No, I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about our current lineup. I'm
sorry,
not talking
yeah.
about our current lineup at the moment. Did very little in football. I don't think that's the case. I think, look, he has a job in there. He's a Sky Sports pundit. I don't think necessarily it's weighed down on. I mean, he's had moments in his career. He had a brilliant career at Liverpool in terms of consistency. He played there for years and years and years. He's an absolute Liverpool legend. But I don't think that's why Sky have him there. Sky have him there because I think he's a very, very good pundit. I think he's really good. I think his analysis is brilliant. Well, most people say it in. Most people turn around and say that
I
Jamie
used to.
Carragher.
I would have said it until the last 3 months. Now
Yeah,
he's a Liverpool fan acting as a pundit, I think.
yeah,
I thought,
but is that because that's what Sky wanted him to do?
well,
Not necessarily what Jamie
maybe,
Carragher would do. I mean, I'm sure he's very comfortable doing it, but you got to remember these Sky Sports shows and stuff like that. They're nearly like a little act in a play and stuff like that. You can see the way they play off Carragher and Neville. You can see the way they slot Keane in there to create controversy. You can see the way they slot Mika Richards in there and stuff like that. This is like a little play going on a stage and stuff like that. And you can see the way they throw stuff out there. You can see the way Keane is lined up for his lines and the way he throws them out there and the timing of
but
it.
Do you know what? I'll tell you what. I suppose us Chelsea fans hate Carragher because of his absolute nonsense that he said a few months back. And in fairness to him, he came out and apologized the next day because he was talking absolute tripe about, how, like, we bought everything we had and they were like, Cobham, what are you talking about? And he was like, oh yeah, I apologize about that. I was like, so get fucking educated on the subjects that you're talking about without talking nonsense. Because
agreed, but what I would say is don't let that cloud your judgment in terms of how good he is as a pundit.
Listen,
he's a fantastic pundit, and he's a brilliant analysis of the game.
I think he's okay. He's no different. Listen, I listen to Roy Keane ahead of him any day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Roy Keane wouldn't hold a torch to Jamie Carragher in terms of punditry and in terms of analysis of the game. I can tell you that now. And I'd be very surprised if most of your people down there, if you're getting clouded about something that he said in relation to Chelsea and had a go of Chelsea that he came out and apologized for, that's a different thing. I'll say, yeah, that was a stupid thing to say. But if you think Roy Keane's analysis of the game, because he comes out and has a go off, lads, and turns around and says, like, David De Gea should walk home and shouldn't get the coach bus home and stuff like that. And if people think that that's a good thing, that's not a good thing. That's as unprofessional as anything else that we talk about. Jamie Carragher is
I'll tell you what's
unprofessional. And a far better analysis of the game than Roy Keane is.
No, what's unprofessional is when your play-by-play, when your colour commentator, for all those wrestling fans out there, is celebrating a goal from his own team live on television. That's what's unprofessional.
But this is, listen, Sky has drove that relationship between him and Neville. They post it in all the time on the Sky Sports social media. It's not going out just on their own. Him and Neville have a go off each other all the time.
So when those views go down, say over the next couple of seasons, does that relationship get broken up and we have to be a professional broadcast team again?
Well, maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the way it goes back. That could be the case. Who knows? At the moment, they know that they're up against the wave of social media and the fan channels and the success of all those channels and how they're grown and the audience that they're garnering that Sky can't at times. And they've understood that. So what they've tried to do is they've tried to kind of become that kind of YouTube fan channel. And that's why they do these things. Look, we can see what they're trying to do. As you said, they've lost a bit of market share. That's where they've lost it to. So now they're trying to find a halfway home between being a professional broadcaster and being like a fan channel. And that's what they've done.
Well, then what they need to do then is maybe make it a fan channel, but not just having two teams involved in the fan channel. Might help them out a bit.
Or maybe just decide what they want to be.
Yeah, decide what they want to be.
Just decide what they want to be.
Just decide what you want to be, because I mean, no, look, this has been fun. I like that.
Yeah, but it's you know what I mean. It's you know what I mean. And this is not me. Look, I've stuck up for Gary Neville as much. I stuck up for Gary Neville as much now as I have Jamie Carragher.
How's Jamie Carragher's ability match up to Roy Keane on the pitch?
That's a different conversation. I mean, that's not it. But here, listen, we've had brilliant footballers out there on the pitch. They don't necessarily make pundits or analysis guys or stuff like that. They're unbelievable footballers and stuff.
A lot of people tune in for Roy Keane, though. They tune in for those walk home rants.
Yeah. But those people that are tuning in for Roy Keane are not necessarily the guys who want to sit down and have a conversation between 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 or anything like that. And the understanding of the intricacies of football that lead you to success and stuff like that the boys talk about week in, week out. You know what I mean? Everyone is sitting on you look at all those guys in that studio with Roy Keane, they're all sitting on the edge of their still because they're scared that they're going to get pumped. and they're hanging on. They're scared to say anything because they know he's biting his lip waiting to go in on people. And that's what they're waiting for. But isn't that when you think about the way
it's a lovely dynamic, isn't it, that they have with the
it is. But if you look at the way they use him like a guy who goes ballistic on a fan channel. That's how they use him. He's literally used as he got
your Carragher that day, though. He got your Carragher that day when he was talking about the Suarez, and he goes, "How many leagues do you win?"
Yeah.
None.
And that's what he's there for, yeah. And Carragher was stumped, absolutely. And that's what I'm talking about. But if you look at that conversation and that segment, that's no different than a segment we would have on a football channel here on YouTube.
100%. Well,
and you see,
look, I guess I got what I wanted from you today, Noel.
You've cleansed me now. I don't feel as bad now. I can go down now and have a cup of tea, and I'm gonna feel okay. Do
you know what I mean? You got a lot of anger out. We got that debate about Carragher. Listen, for the record, I think Carragher's a great pundit.
I know that. And listen, what he said about Chelsea was wrong, and he came out and he apologized. He knew he had put his foot in his mouth. And listen, it takes a guy to come out and apologize about what he said. That takes a big person as well. Most people would blast over that and move on.
No, just for the record, Carragher got Liam Gallagher back with an absolute beauty. He goes, yeah, Oasis were shy compared to the Beatles.
And that's an argument that even Oasis can't win.
Well, it's an argument that I'm not even going to back up Oasis on, because I'm a Beatles guy. It's Liverpool. Sometimes if I'm sitting there going, fucking Liverpool, and then I'm going, the Beatles, no. Sorry.
Yeah.
They gave me Paul McCartney. I can't. I'm forever grateful. No, it's. I love having these. This is going to be a good one. This is like a little mini debate that we had, which has been a nice turn of events. I can see the smile back in your face here. The upper
If you
lip.
don't smile, you're gonna cry, aren't you? If you don't
Exactly,
smile, you're gonna cry.
exactly. But look, this is what this is all about, lads. Banter. If you've enjoyed this, ladies and gentlemen, and you just want more of it, we've got it. This is.
And if you didn't, fuck off to Sky Sports.
Yeah, if you don't, just go to Sky Sports and still complain about Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville all you want. Niall, it's been a pleasure once again. Commiserations. Fantastic season, an amazing achievement, albeit to fail by 1 point, and I wouldn't say fail. Sorry, but again, we said it at the very, very start.
Fall short
By 1 point. Phenomenal season, and you're right. It would have, in any other era, it would have got you, Premier League by some distance.
Just it sickens me. I look back at leagues being won with 76 points and all, and I go, fuck's sake.
You kind of like it to get back to that, wouldn't you? Soon, where we can kind of have those.
Never going back there again.
No.
The next step up is it's going to take 100 points to win a league. That's the scary thing.
Yeah. Well, we're coming for you in about 3 years, so enjoy it while it lasts.
I hope it doesn't take that long. I need more than just us pushing City to make it really interesting.
Listen, I will say it to Chelsea fans as well while I'm on that subject. We were 2 wing backs away from challenging a little bit closer this season than we did.
And probably a striker who wanted to be there.
Yeah. There's no way back for him, isn't there? No?
I don't know. No. Stranger things have happened. Huh?
PSG, well, they have all the money in the world, so if they can come and take, Hakim and Lukaku, I'd be happy. I know a lot of Chelsea fans are annoyed at me with my Hakim Ziyech vendetta, but I don't see it. I just don't, and I will.
It's all relative.
Yeah, and I will. It's relative in the eye of the beholder, and to what our system is meant to be and what it's going to be. And I think we're taking out on the wrong people. But look, that's a conversation for another day. We're going to talk about that during the week. We're going to have Mark Meehan on during the week, of course, from the Chelsea Supporters Trust, a group which I, of course, am part of. And I hope many of you guys and girls are also. If you're not, do check them out, Chelsea Supporters Trust. They're on Twitter. Go actually put your money where your mouth is and support the club and have a say in the future of our club, because the future is very, very near. And Todd Bowley literally greeting players off the pitch after today, even though he doesn't officially own the club yet. So there's something happening that we don't know, and I expect that announcement to be done this week. I would imagine.
Has to be, hasn't it? Has to be done this week.
No, next
going
week.
Into the last week of May, aren't we?
Next week, 31st is the cutoff. So technically Tuesday week would be the final day, but apparently the word on the street is that we're going to have it. Oh yeah, well, but this is coming out now on a Monday, so say tomorrow week would be the final deadline. So, yeah, there'll be a week to go. But look, the fact that they're
in other words, just get it done. Just get it done. It's all news at this stage. Just get it done and start getting me excited for my transfer show. Start buying some players and selling some players. That's what I want. Provide me with content, Chelsea.
I have a feeling they're going to do that this year.
Good.
I have a feeling. And listen, Jamie Carragher, you stay safe. Start picking on Noel Gallagher in future. Might be easier for you. You might get.
Don't get too concerned about what Richarlison thinks of you. Let's just say that.
Chelsea signing Richarlison in this.
Hopefully.
No. Hopefully. Although, it couldn't be worse than Lukaku. But look,
apparently Darren wants him. Darren wants him at Man United. So I'd like that to happen.
But that's their level now. So I thought it was Darwin Núñez. No, is that gone? It's
I wouldn't have thought so.
Well, look, Niall, it's been a pleasure. As always. Look, I'm glad you've got a smile on your face at the end of the night. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, you've got a Champions League to look forward to. I was there last year. unbelievable feeling. You're going to be there in person, physically in Paris. If you see Kylian Mbappe or any of the PSG owners, don't get yourself arrested.
No, I'm not going to Paris. I'm going to Aintree. I'm going to be over in the fan fest at Aintree Racecourse in Liverpool.
Nice.
And I'll be in Liverpool on the Sunday for the parade. And I'm praying that the parade isn't just 2 domestic cups. Paul Merson would be very upset with that parade if it went ahead with just 2 domestic cups that don't mean anything.
Well, Niall, as much as I love you, me on the other hand, I am praying it's just 2 domestic cups, that you beat us on penalties that don't mean anything, because you've not really won a cup if you win on penalties.
No, you don't win the game if you win on penalties. Like you lose it, but you get the trophy. Like.
Should be null and void. Should be null and void.
We're used to that shape being thrown at us.
Good Lord, yeah. There's some nonsense people come out with, but until a couple of days, ladies and gentlemen, there's no next week on this one. We're going to be giving our end of season Chelsea review, hopefully with Mark Meehan. We're going to have Alex on again, and some new guests also from stateside over in the good old US of A. So lots coming up. This is going to be a busy summer, even though the league is over for us and we have no more games to play. Trust me, there's going to be content coming out here, and it's only just the beginning. So Niall, once again, my brother, thank you very much, and once again, commiserations. Keep the head high. Your team done yours a solid this year. So
yeah, all good.
Thanks for coming on, my brother.
Cheers, bro. Talk to you soon.